You see, I'm touching on various personalities and the way they interacted with this super personality and how their lives were charged up and were divinified by just coming across this person. You see, just as this picture has very unique history, and I mentioned this story about the picture some time back, that Ramakrishna was not very keen to be photographed, and the only way you could photograph him is to talk about God, then go into meditation, and then you picture him. This is how the 3 pictures were taken of Ramakrishna when he was alive. All of them, somebody pushed him into meditation, and then they photographed him. One of the best ones is actually the one taken at Keshav Chandra Sen's house, the Brahmo leader. He walked in and he was in a very, very unusual mood, and his eyes are indrawn. It's again this meditation with open eyes, the feature of his personality. Open eyes, because for him, inside and outside are, by the way, the whole thing is Brahman. So he doesn't need to close his eyes to see Brahman. With open eyes, he sees that. That's why open-eyed. The other one with that, a feature, that's a unique feature, posture. And that picture is very dramatic, very powerful, especially his face. If you look at the face, it will make you feel that this is something special going on here, because his eyes are indrawn like that, and still tremendous bliss visible in the picture. Just as this picture was taken in a very unusual way, and this is the world famous picture now, the reason why people like me have come across the story of Ramakrishna is because there is one individual who took the trouble of recording all his conversations. Now, this has not happened in the history of mankind with previous God-man, because the material you have is just you get fleeting glimpse of that personality, and the material regarding what they discussed, how they talked, who they talked with, the timing, the dates, it's all very fuzzy. It's never properly recorded. It was never properly recorded with almost all personalities. Suppose you want to look at Krishna's life story, you say, was the Bhagavad Gita really preached on the battlefield? It would take hours, and the armies would get fed up standing around. It couldn't be real. So you see, when you look at all these various conversations in the ancient scriptures, who said it, when they said it, which godman said it, are we sure about the accuracy? It's always suspect, and you must be aware that it is suspect. For the first time again in the history of mankind, we find the tremendous information, very rigorous, very thorough information regarding a conversation with a godman, well recorded. So the personality I'm going to talk about is this personality who took the trouble of meticulously, whenever he visited Ramakrishna, he would take his diary with him and write down, scribble away. And sometimes some bits were missing. When he goes home, he will think about the whole conversation that took place while he was there and try and repeat in his own mind until he gets the right word. Then he would put it in. So I'm going to do the story of the author of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, who was one of his household disciples. And you see how unique they are and how they interact with Ramakrishna. You'll find it will bring a smile to your faces. Now, Mahendranath is called Master Mahashai. Mahendranath Gupta was a headmaster in schools in Calcutta. His speciality was literature. This is the right, you need an author who is master literature. This was his speciality. He was headmaster, a teacher of many subjects, including English literature, and a masterful writer. So this Mahendranath Gupta had a wife who was a little bit unbalanced. I mean, we're trying to be kind and gentle, saying she was a bit unbalanced. And he had great problem, a lot of family problem. The family was splitting up. He had to leave his father's house with his wife and baggage and find another place somewhere, and he was struggling. The world appeared very, very rough for him. And it was so bad, things were so bad in the house that he had decided to commit suicide. Now this is a perfect time to meet Ramakrishna. So he was planning suicide on that particular day, and he said, okay, and somebody said, oh, there's a nice garden house and there's a Paramhans who lives there, let's visit him. So he said, yes, let's go, I'm going to die anyway, so let's get this thing out of the way. This is how he visited Ramakrishna for the first time. And then he walked in. Now you see, let me tell you, when you read the Gospel of Ramakrishna, if you are fortunate enough to read the Gospel of Ramakrishna, it will thrill you. He's a lovely author. His ability to use words correctly without being too, superfluous or without being too kind of articulate. Perfect pitch of language. Perfect pitch. His ability to describe was incredible. So here is this. You see, let me also say this. At the age of about 12 or 13, I came across Rabindranath Tagore literature and I read almost everything. At the age of 13, I was reading away, memorizing the Gitanjali, memorizing it, because I loved the material. I read all his novels, his poems, his essays, and memorized the Gitanjali. I was using it in my GCS English exams. I'm telling you, I was thrilled by Rabindranath Tagore. And then, a few years later, I came across the Gospel of Ramakrishna. If Rabindranath Tagore was given 1 Nobel Prize, this gentleman deserves 7 Nobel Prizes. That's the difference in the quality and the caliber. In fact, I find a lot of stuff that Rabindranath Tagore has written which I suspect has come from here. I got enough problems. You see, that is the majesty of this writing. Incredible writer. Anyway, he meets Ramakrishna for the first time and he's immediately, look at his way of, look, when he describes the meetings, he takes us, he lifts us up from here and transports us to that time, that day, in that particular location. The language is such that he'll transport you there, he'll take you there. He'll say things like that. The evening has come, the Vesper service in the temple is over, the cymbals and the bells were ringing and the sound was carried on the banks of the river Ganga, and the evening sky was becoming dark, and the birds were kind of chat, and the flow of the Ganga was making a chattering sound. And I went into the room of the master. He calls Ramakrishna the master, and he calls himself M. Reduces his own, no ego, just M. He had no ego, this man. He said M entered the room, and there was a little bit of incense stick burning there, and he could see the master smiling and sitting on the little wooden bench, and the devotee sitting on the mat on the floor. It was like Sukadev, dishing out nectar which the devotees were drinking.